Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Live streaming event with Rick Miracle me begins at noon. It's 11:59. A few seconds to go. It's noontime. Time for another conversation. Well, it was interesting, to say the least, to do the live streaming events in July 2018. Here's the stack of documents. I think this was the last one. And I put little tabs on there on the side so I can see the date and what I talked about. A little filing system for this program. So I talked about a lot of things last month. This is the 1st of August 2018. And it can be a little convoluting. You know, you're talking about New World Order, weaponizing microwaves, dumping chemicals in the sky, Jewish persons working towards a Jewish utopia, the banking system, the Illuminati, Iran, Iraq, and so much more. President Trump saying the U.S. recognizes Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Pictures I've shown of the Freemasons building models of King Solomon's temple. Clearly a connection with the aspirations of the Zionist Jewish Greater Israel program that is underway, accelerated since 9/11, brought about by World War I and World War II. Hugo says good sound. Thank you. I was running a couple tests earlier, trying to figure out how to do live streaming from my iPhone. But what I couldn't see, like right now I could see the comments that people are saying. When I was live streaming from my iPhone, the screen on the live streaming YouTube channel didn't show my picture or the comments. So I'll have to just figure out a way to get used to it or deal with it. But anyways, I wanted to do sort of a discussion. I do have a series called Freemasonry and Satanism Book Reviews, which I've been doing since September 2013. So September is coming quick, which will be the completion of 5 years. And I had some other series, New World Order media and press releases. And I've been using those to preload them and have them go live to the public at 1:45 when I don't do a live streaming event. I missed 3 days in July because of business appointments. It has been a challenge to have this responsibility every day at noon, which was why I was testing it and testing myself to see how it would go. So anyways, let's look at a couple books for a second before I read from another book. But this is just some of the books I've not made videos on. Casebook on Alternative 3. So they have 3 alternatives on how to deal with we the people. UFOs, secret societies, and world control. Jim Keith. So as you can see, I have a lot of books. I have over 1,000 books in my office. I've spent a lot of years on this. The Hebrew prophets were right. weather modification, UFOs, and other New World Order deception, Stephen Wright. So you got a lot of people who have done a lot of work publishing these books. Here's one. Little Gray Bastards. The Incessant Alien Presence. Jordan Hoffer and David Barker. Forward by Nick Pope, U.S. Ministry of Defense. UFO Project. Gray little bastards. So what do you think? Kennedy's Last Stand. Just dropped one of my books. Eisenhower, UFOs, MJ-12, and JFK's assassination. Michael Salla. Some serious connections here. Apparently, they started out with Sheldon Bush in the Woodrow Wilson administration, President Woodrow Wilson. His son, Prescott Bush, with the Eisenhower administration. And apparently, Eisenhower met with aliens twice. One was with the Nordic Val Thor, and the other was with a gray alien. And apparently, and of course, Prescott's Bush was George Bush Sr., so the Bushes were involved with the UFOs and World War I, World War II, even a lot of proof out there. They assisted in financing and bringing Hitler and Germany to power after losing World War I. So there has been a plan. And I dropped a book here. And it does seem to have something to do with these otherworldly beings and John Keel, Mothman Prophecies. For 13 months, the entire town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, was gripped by a dark terror that culminated in a tragedy that made headlines all over the world. So I have all these books. What am I supposed to believe? Seriously, what are we supposed to believe? Satan's plan for a one world order. Dark secrets of the new age. Tex Mars. You go to Tex Mars' website, a lot of free material, videos. The New World, the New Mind. A rare book that changes people's lives. Rarer still, a book that changes the world. The world may be going to pot or up in smoke. All because our miserable, unprepared yet powerful brains can unleash forces beyond our moral and political control. The coming insurrection, the invisible committee. What I'm trying to show here, is there any doubt in anybody's mind that there are some malevolent, evil, sinister forces at work to bring about a world global order? And they're bringing us this action and reaction, Hegelian dialectic, and they're bringing us the problems, and they'll bring us the solutions. It's all pre-designed. Earth's 2-minute warning. Today's Bible predicted signs of the end times. The Aquarian Conspiracy, Personal and Social Transformation in the 80s, big thick book. I do pick up these books and read them. And I go with my intuition when I select the next book to make a book review on, just like I've been doing with the live streaming events. It sort of comes to me. One of the most important books of the past 10 years, Gore Vidal, Family of Secrets. The Bush Dynasty, America's Invisible Government, and the Hidden History of the Last 50 Years. And I hope with these videos I'm making, and a lot of other people, that we the people can wake up and prevent whatever they have planned. John Quincy Adams' Letters on Freemasonry. This was a very interesting book for me to read. President John Quincy Adams, I believe it was President John Quincy Jr. or something. His father was president also. But he writes in this book that there were two parties back then, not the Democrats and Republicans, but the Masons and the anti-Masons. So you can get these books. I thought I'd just read from a little bit from this book. All right, page 138. In the address to your companions and brethren at your installation, so he's writing to a Governor Clinton, interesting last name there, way back then, which has been the occasion of these letters to you, John Quincy Adams writing to this governor about Morgan manuscripts and the General Grand High Priest of the Masons, which has been the occasion of these letters to you. It was said that it would be not more unjust and absurd to impute to the Christian religion all the crimes which have been committed in its names. So we do know that during the Crusades, which were from 1000 to 1300, 300 years, 8 crusades. They organized armies from Germany and Britain and France and Spain and Italy, Austria, everywhere in Europe. And they marched across the north of the Mediterranean through Greece and Turkey and Bosnia and all those countries, pillaged and robbed and killed along the way so they could survive. And when they got to the Middle East, they came down from the north and they slaughtered every living soul. They cut their stomachs open to empty their guts because a lot of the Arabs would swallow any gold coins to try to save them. Some of the written descriptions are knee-deep of blood flowing out of the castles and towns. This would be the Vatican, the kings and queens for glory, and the peasants, the citizens, had to obey the kings and the Vatican. But that isn't what all Christianity is, but that's what they did. The argument is familiar to all the defenders of Freemasonry and has an appearance of plausibility, but it is fallacious. All the crimes committed in the name and under the color of the Christian religion have been perpetrated under false and erroneous constructions of its precepts. Just like all the people that seem to say nothing or approve, get patriotic after 9/11, which has resulted in millions of Arabs being slaughtered, towns and cities being destroyed. Are we all responsible for that because we were tricked, we were deceived? But whenever or wherever these false or erroneous constructions have been detected and exposed, they have been exploded. And you got that truth for 911 or rethink 911 I showed yesterday. This is precisely the object of the anti-Masons, that would be Christians, at this time with regard to the errors and vices of the Masonic institution. They are to the order of Freemasonry what the Protestant reformers were to the Christian religion. And the Protestant religion resulted because the bishops and priests and Vatican, Pope, and all those people were living very decadent lives right out in the open. And of course it would upset and make the normal citizens unite and oppose such a thing. In this case, they formed the Protestant religion. And so then the Christian Catholic Church had to have a reformation and restructure itself to get in the good graces of the people again. Perhaps an analogy still more accurate may present itself to your mind between the letters of Blaise Pascal upon the morals of the order of the Jesuits, and those which I have now the honor of addressing to you upon the morals of Masonry. The tenets which in the name of the Christian religion have drenched the world in blood were spurious, and they formed no part of the religion itself. The tenets of the order of Jesuits detected and exposed by Pascal were not universally held by the members of that institution. So I guess in these organizations, as it just said there, and as I continue to say with Zionism and Zionist and the activities for 300 years to bring us to where we are today, with these psychopathic entities, people, hybrids, creatures, fallen angels, demons, whatever they are, working towards a world order, global world order, and all kinds of activities are going on every day that if you want to see it, you want to look for it, you will find it. The proof is there. And of course, what boggles my mind sometimes, like with the dumping of chemicals in the sky, and there's no other way to describe it, and maybe even biologicals, which has been admitted, people are not getting in an uproar. Or with the Rethink 911 and Building 7 free-falling side by side another building. No flames, no fire, no explosions, just dropping. You'd think people would demand answers, but the people just seem to be blind, sheeple, apathetic. They don't care. Just leave me alone. So when it happens, will these people then say we should have seen this coming? They always do. World War I, World War II, they were preparing munitions and equipment in the industrial factories before the wars were declared by the president. And they had to use some major Pearl Harbor event to do it. Even with 911, to topple all those countries in the Middle East and murder all those Arabs. You can't use any other word. The Arab people are older than many people all over the world. They don't deserve to be destroyed. So what I thought I would read today was something interesting. A little bit from this book, Morals and Dogma, Series 85. I've already made a lot of videos. Probably have part 7 2-hour videos on the different topics. There's 32 degrees, 33 degrees in this book. So I've been just going with my intuition and making videos and, again, trying to get it clear in my head what we're dealing with. So I thought this might be a good time, the beginning of August, after my month's worth of all that material, showing clearly evidence of preparations for a global world order, even the murder of President John Kennedy, and so many others, and the Freemasons with models of King Solomon's temple, and the activities of the diaspora and Aliyah, the return of Jewish people from all over the world, all planned, all in action, all in operation, all going on as I speak. Yesterday, today, tomorrow, until whoever they are pull the trigger and put to work the 5G weaponized microwave system, dump pathogens, biologicals into the sky. Nobody would notice because they're already dumping stuff every day. Use the HARP transmitters to bathe the city in certain frequency, driving everybody mad and insane, rioting and killing. It's just too much to believe. So what I'm going to read here is from the Master Degree, page 102 of Morals and Dogma, the Bible for the Freemasons. Ancient and accepted right. And I showed this picture yesterday, or the day before, that in Maine I was driving down the road, and it has the G in the middle there, and I think the G, according to what I read this morning, means geometry. And I read that in this book that I've been reading, The Secret Symbols of the Dollar Bill, fascinating material in this book. So the G means geometry. Geometry, of course, is similar to the sounds coming out of my mouth, vibrations, and the symbols that go along with it, the witchcraft star in a circle, geometry. So here I am driving down the highways in Maine, and I see this sign, Ancient, Free, and Accepted, and I know a little bit about the law and what they're doing. Just like if you get divorced, you post an ad in the newspaper that says, I'm not responsible for so-and-so's financial expenses or debt anymore. You have to make an announcement. So if you get a fictitious name to start a company, you have to place an ad for a week announcing you're going to use the name in case anybody claims it. You make an announcement. It's a law. So there's something going on where they have these signs every few miles. It's telling me they're putting us on notice. And if you look at the back of this book, Ancient and Accepted. Morals and Dogma. So should we wonder what's in this book? So I'll just read it a little bit. You can see that I highlight. I pre-read the material, so I kind of know what I'm going to talk about. So the Freemasons, when they teach these initiates to the first degree, second degree, third degree, they have to swear on a Bible while they're blindfolded and a dagger's pressed up against their chest. Under oath that they won't divulge what they learn or the goings-on and obey the master under threat of being killed in a horrific way, having their stomachs sliced open and their guts thrown on the beach and their body thrown on the beach or their throats cut. Each degree gets more vicious in the description of how they're to be killed. That's for the first 3 degrees. And a lot of people who join Freemasonry do it for the social and business contacts, etc. And they never really rise above the 3rd degree, maybe because they're good people or the people who are in charge don't deem them as the necessary type of person. They want to go to the 4th and the 22nd and the 32nd degree and become these people who become our politicians and leaders and controllers of big corporations. Just like Tex Mars once sent me a newsletter declaring that most CEOs, if not all, of huge corporations were Jewish people. And of course, I was early in my investigation career here, and I said, no way. And I got a binder, and I started printing out the names of the corporations and searching who the CEO was and looking them up on Wikipedia. I have a whole binder with this information collected. And yeah, they were all Jewish people. And a lot of us know that these days that we have an issue. Henry Ford said, the world's foremost problem, international Jews. And a lot of people in the United States that are descendants of Jewish families may not know about all this. And to what degree are they aware? I wonder sometimes, are people just when they grow up, do they just not ask any questions? Do their families not tell them anything? So it really does make you wonder. But then again, you have a lot of famous Jewish people who have risked their lives. Benjamin Friedman, Henry Macau, and so many others, exposing the evil forces, the Zionist Jewish secret society, Freemasons, Illuminati. Even Henry Macau, PhD, Jewish author in Canada, wrote the book, the Illuminati, the cult that hijacked the world. So I've connected the Freemasons with their models of the King Solomon's Temple and so much more, with the Zionist Jewish aspirations for a Jewish utopia, Protocols of Zion, and the Ultimate World Order by Robert Williams, Jewish Utopia by Professor Hager, and so much more. So now that I've said all that, let me just read a little bit from Morals and Dogma, the Bible for the Freemasons. And ironically, there's something that's always kind of just puzzled me when they kind of control our government. And even in their New Age magazine, I've showed those on my videos, it clearly says they demand that there is a separation between church and state. But they control the state. And they are religion. So there is not a separation of church and state when the Freemasons and other secret societies and Illuminati and banksters and the Zionist Jewish people, Kabbalist, witchcraft people, when they're in charge of our country, there is a church involved, and it's the Church of Satan, so it seems. Long says many in Congress are U.S. and Austrial dual citizens. So let me read a little bit about their religion, and then you can decide what you think. Page 102, under the title The Master. God has arranged all things by weight, number, and measure. Geometry. Says the Bible, and this luminous doctrine was also that of Plato. Humanity has never really had but one religion and one worship. So according to the Freemasonic Bible, Morals and Dogma, Albert Pike, world Freemason leader, general for the South during the North and South War in the United States, humanity has never really had but one religion and one worship. This universal light has had its uncertain mirages, its deceitful reflections, and its shadows, you think? But always after the nights of error, we see it reappear, one and pure like the sun. The magnificence of worship are the life of religion, and if Christ wishes poor ministers, his sovereign divinity does not wish paltry altars. Some Protestants have not comprehended that worship is a teaching and that we must not create in the imagination of the multitude a mean or miserable God. We must not create in the imagination of the multitude, that's we the people, a mean or miserable God. Those oratories that resemble poorly finished offices or inns, those unworthy ministers clad like notaries or lawyers' clerks, do they not necessarily cause religion to be regarded as a mere Platonic formality and God as the justice of the peace? We scoff at the augurs. It is so easy to scoff and so difficult well to comprehend. Did the deity, reading and speaking clearly can be a challenge with some of these words. All right. Did the deity, a god, a deity, leave the whole world without light for 20 centuries to illuminate only a little corner of Palestine and a brutal, ignorant, and ungrateful people? Why always culminate God in sanctuary? Were there never any others than rogues among the priests? Could no honest and sincere man be found among the hierophants of Ceres or Diana, that would be the initiates, of Dionysus, of Apollo, of Hermes, of Mithras? I've talked about all these in my different videos. Were these then all deceived like the rest? Who then constantly deceived them? Without betraying themselves during a series of centuries? for the cheats are not immortal. Orogos said that outside of the pure mathematics, he who utters the word impossible is wanting in prudence and good sense. He who utters the word impossible is wanting in prudence and good sense. All right. The true name of Satan, the Kabbalists say, is that of Yiwah. Reversed, for Satan is not a black god, but a negation of God. The devil is the personification of atheism or idolatry. The devil is a personification of atheism. This is in the Freemason Bible. And they're promoting in the propaganda these days the New Age, and a lot of people declare themselves to be atheists, anti-Christians, and they've been taught this by the school system, by the cartoons, by the movies, by the newspapers. Somebody wants to demonize the good and glorify the evil, and a lot of people regrettably are buying it. For the initiates, this is not a person but a force, created for the good, but which may serve for evil. It is the instrument of liberty or free will. The instrument of liberty or free will. And of course they now promote pansexualism, transgenderism, and so much more. And people are buying it. They represent this force which presides over the physical generation under the mythological and horned form of God Pan. So Pan is that little being that looks like a devil with horns playing the flute, the Pied Piper. So this force they're talking about, which presides over the physical generation under the mythological and horned form of the god Pan, thence came the he-goat of the Sabbath, brother of the ancient serpent, and the light-bearer or phosphorer, of which the poets have made the false Lucifer of the legend. False Lucifer of the legend. Gold to the eyes of the initiates is light condensed. They style the sacred numbers of the Kabbalah. I've talked about all these words, that's why I'm reading from this. They style the sacred numbers of the Kabbalah, golden numbers, and the moral teachings of Pythagoras, his golden verses, for the same reason. The mysterious book of Apuleius, in which an ass, like a donkey, figures largely, was called the golden ass. The pagans accused the Christians of worshiping an ass. And they did not invent this reproach. It came from the Sumerian Jews. It came from the Sumerian Jews, according to page 103, who, figuring the data of the Kabbalah in regard to the divinity of by Egyptian symbols, also represented the intelligence by the figure of the magical star adored under the name Rephaim. I think that's an angel's name. Science under the emblem of Anubis, Anubis, and that's that Egyptian entity with the bird or horse's head, Anubis. I think they had an Anubis character in the Stargate TV series. They had a lot of those names in the Stargate TV series. Ra, and so many others. You think they're telling us something? Even with the Star Trek series, they always had those reptilian beings. You think they're telling us something? Whose name they changed to Nibus. So Anubis became Nibus, Nibbas, and the vulgar faith or credulity under the figure Thartik, a god represented represented with a book, a cloak, and the head of an ass, Anubis. According to the Jewish Samaritan doctors, Christianity was the reign of Thartic, blind faith, and vulgar credulity, erected into a universal oracle, preferred to intelligence and science. So they're discrediting or saying negative things about Christianity compared to intelligence and science. And look what they're doing with the science these days, like with the microwaving, weaponized technologies and dumping chemicals in the sky and artificial intelligence, beast computers monitoring everybody, everything, everywhere. What can they do when they pull the trigger? Sinus, Bishop of Ptolemais, a great Kabbalist, but of doubtful orthodoxy, wrote, "The people will always mock at things easy to be misunderstood. The people will always mock at things easy to be misunderstood. It must needs have impostures." So that's why it's hard to read some of this. The sequence of words are not normal flows for my brain, like, it must needs have impostures. A spirit, he said, that loves wisdom and contemplates the truth close at hand is forced to disguise it, to induce the multitudes to accept it. So the truth close at hand is forced to disguise it. So they want to mind control we the people, but they can't tell us the truth. So they're forced to disguise it, to induce the multitudes to accept it. Fictions are necessary to the people, and the truth becomes deadly to those who are not strong enough to contemplate it in all its brilliance. Liberty Force says, all more brainwashing. They want us to believe in a false god. Well, when this is for the master initiation, so they're teaching the initiates this stuff. And listen, you just heard me say what they think about the multitude. It's forced to disguise it, to induce the multitudes to accept it. Fictions are necessary to the people, and the truth becomes deadly to those who are not strong enough to contemplate it in all its brilliance. So you join the Freemasons, you're getting your third degree, you got your first, you got your second, you're going to be the master now. And you're reading this, and you're young probably. And they teach a lot more. You think you're something special. The Masons inside laugh at the rest of us, call us profane. Many Jews laugh at the rest of us, call us goy, goyim, which means cattle. I don't think you missed anything, Liberty. I'm just reading your comment. They want us to believe in a false god. I believe that. Look at the satanic symbolism. Used all the time. Emmys, Grammys, Super Bowl halftime shows, Olympic openings, tunnel ceremonies, statues of the ball, the devil, and Oklahoma City State Building, Detroit, people dressing up like a Halloween contest. Ghouls and demons attending these events. I mean, what does it take for people to wake up? That is a curious question. Are people really so blind? So much in denial? They won't even recognize or go look up Building 7 in 911 and see it pre-fall. If they can't use any deductive reasoning, go look at a picture of a building being demolished, dropping, and look at that picture. Look at videos where they're side by side. And if people say, well, it was an inside job, and apparently those Mossad Israeli agents who were arrested went on TV, bragged about it, and after it happened, they used it to destroy all the countries in the Middle East. If they don't see that, and they don't get angry about that, and they don't say this is wrong. I wonder, when you do die, when I die, you die, anyone dies, and we get to the other side, we are spiritual beings, how do we answer for the fact that it wasn't my affair? I don't care. I didn't care. And people have asked me when I got a little bit agitated or excited or concerned about things going on like 911 or economic destruction back in 2005 and 6 and 7. And I did a little poking around and I discovered things. And I went to some very influential, powerful, wealthy people I knew who I worked for different times as a business consultant. And I would sit in people's chairs in their offices, looking around at all that wealth and artwork and all that. And I would mention some of these things I was concerned about. And in every case, these people, I'm not naming names, would say, Rick, you've got too much time on your hands. You shouldn't be looking into this. Aren't you doing fine? How is this affecting you? Is it hurting you? Are you doing great? And why don't you just forget about it? So these people, many of these people in influential places, they know. If the sacerdotal laws allowed the reservation of judgments and the allegory of words, I would accept the proposed dignity on condition that I might be a philosopher at home and abroad a narrator of apologies and parables. In fact, what can there be in common between the vile multitude and the sublime wisdom? In fact, what can there be in common between the vile multitude, that's you and me, and the sublime wisdom, that's them? You got it? You get it? This is what they think. This must be how you make a psychopath. So you get initiated, first, second, third degree, and you're recognized to be a psychopath. You would do anything for wealth or glory, perverted sex. You're recruited. You're in. You're controllable. You're a psychopath. You don't have empathy for other people. You're a liar. You're a cheat. You're in. Hey, you can be president, CEO, Monsanto, genetically modified foods, chemical factory, produce all that stuff they're dumping in the sky. You're in. You don't have a conscience. You're a psychopath. What do you care? You're living large. You're in a gated community. You have a yacht down on the water. Makes you wonder about these people. The truth must be kept secret. Page 103. Put my finger here and show you. I don't like people to believe a darn thing I say. The truth must be kept secret. In the middle of this video. The truth must be kept secret. And the masses need a teaching proportional to their imperfect reason. So I'm reading these materials I go over, press releases, other books, all these topics, so that hopefully people can pick up on this stuff. And you don't have to watch my videos. There's plenty of material out there. If I encourage somebody to move on and start becoming a researcher and watching stuff and talking to their friends, and they never watch another one of my videos again, I've done my job. I want people to wake up. It's my world I'm defending, my families. Brothers, sisters, nephews, nieces, friends, animals, cats, bugs, birds, bees, everything being affected by this environmental destruction. And all that stuff in the news now by the intentional burning of the California forest and all over Europe. Somebody is destroying our environment every single day these days. The newspaper article I went over yesterday on my sky spraying video, the propaganda is in the regular newspapers with half a page. And blaming it on human causes. We're to blame. They want us to believe. And of course, we're reading from the people who control the world's secret societies some of this material. and the truth must be kept secret, and the masses need a teaching proportioned to their imperfect reason. You can see why I wanted to read these couple pages. Moral disorders produce physical ugliness, and in some sort realize those frightful faces which tradition assigns to the demons. So it seems like the demons are in charge. The first Druids were the true children of the Magi, magic, witchcraft, I added those two words, of the Magi, and their initiation came from Egypt and Chaldaea, that is to say, from the pure sources of the primitive Kabbalah. Primitive Kabbalah. They adored the Trinity under the name of Isis and Hesus, the supreme harmony of Balaam and Bel, which in Assyria means Lord. So we used to have a festival in the town I live in now called Bel Share, Belshare. And they terminated it, maybe because people are waking up. But it means Lord, Belshare Festival, and it was kind of a decadent party thing. The name corresponds to that of Adoni, or to Kamel, or Camille, a name that in the Kabbalah personifies the divine justice. Below this triangle of light, they suppose a divine reflection, also composed of three personified rays. First, the Techutas, or Tush, the same as Thoth, Thoth, of the Egyptians. And a lot of people are into these Thoth videos, this ancient god being. They don't know what they're into. The world, or the intelligence formated, then force and beauty, whose names varied under their emblems. Finally, they completed the sacred septenary, septenary, by the mysterious image that represented the progress of the dogma and its future realizations. This was a young girl, veiled, holding a child in her arms, as they dedicated this image to the Virgin, who will become a mother, Virgina Praetoria. So I did decide to look up this septenary, so I got some pictures here. I mean, sometimes you hear this word and you're not quite sure what to think. So I like to look up the words with pictures to see what a septenary is. And it was kind of astonishing. Finally, they completed the sacred septenary by a mysterious image that represented the progress of the dogma and its future realization. So the dogma would be like the rules or the things you should do, a catechism if you're a Christian. You know, they teach you the religion and the things you're supposed to do, catechism, and probably the rights of Jewish people and other people. The dogma, the rules, the procedures. So the septenary is part of the dogma, yet to be realized, it says here. Look at the pictures. You got a little rainbow there. Seen that before? You got the tree of life in the rainbow colors. You got the Israeli Magen David six-pointed star, two pyramids inverted. Pyramid with the men. So you look up septenary, and you can click the links on these pictures if you are so inclined to try to wake up. But basically, it's part of the occult, as you can see here. This new religion, these amulets, medallions, people wear to have the entities from other worlds, demons, angels, assist them, protect them, get them wealth. See, there's just some of the pictures when you go look up that word. You've seen these New Age pictures. Cartoon characters. 7 candlestick menorah. That symbol that's replacing all the Christian symbols at Christmas time. So I looked up that word, and these are the results. There's more. Numerology, septenary. Involves children, it looks like. So what are these cartoon characters teaching your children? So I'll read on. Just like to take a moment and what's a picture? What's this saying here? That they completed the sacred septenary by a mysterious image that represented the progress of the dogma and its future realization. Hathor or Werther, the young Isis of Gaul, queen of heaven, the virgin who was to bear a child, held the spindle of fates filled with the wool half white and half black, because she presides over all forms and all symbols and weaves the garment of the ideas. One of the most mysterious pentacles of the Kabbalah, mysterious pentacles. You know, I looked that up. I'll show the picture in a minute. Of the Kabbalah contained in the Enchiridion of Leo III, presented an equilateral triangle reversed and inscribed in a double circle. So I do know it's 5-pointed pentagram star in a circle is a tool used by witches to call forth demons and entities and perform magic, which apparently is calling forth demons and entities. And to protect themselves, they have to sit in the circle, or they could be consumed by these entities themselves. From my limited learning in this area. So I looked up that occult reversed equilateral triangle. You're not going to believe this. What's on the back of the dollar bill? The pyramid and the eye. So that's what all those symbols are. Why the movie stars and famous people are doing that hand sign. The eye on the dollar bill. More going on than people know. Probably more than people want to know. But you can go on these websites on Yahoo image site. Here's some guy with it on his hand. People standing in line, getting tattooed every day. On the triangle are written in such a manner as to form the prophetic Tau. The Tau, of course, is the T, just the T, like a capital T. That's a symbol for the divine, and it has a circle on top, which is a symbol for the serpent eating its tail, meaning eternity. The divine serpent. Here we go again. So the triangle are written in such a manner to form the prophetic Tau. The two Hebrew words so often appended to the ineffable name, and they have the way you spell it in Hebrew, Elohayim, and the powers of Tezeboth, or the starry armies and their guiding spirits. Words also which symbolize the equilibrium of the forces of nature in the harmony of numbers, geometry, numerology. To the three sides of the triangle belong the great names, and it's got some Hebrew names, but it also has the translation in English. Ihava, Adoni, Alglo. Above the first is written in Latin, deformatia, so the formation. Above the second, reformation, and above the third, transformation. Wow, and then we have transgenderism and things like that. So creation is ascribed to the Father, redemption or reformation of the Son, S-O-N, and the sanctification or transformation of the Holy Spirit, answering to the mathematical laws of action, reaction, and equilibrium. Action, reaction, and equilibrium. So they are bringing us a lot of action, gun shootings, bombings, terror attack, and they are reacting, creating more legislation, policing and monitoring, controlling, limiting we the people, to create a new equilibrium, a new norm, a new normal. And apparently during these end times, that I is perversion. Look up the word. I've looked up, I've been reading this book here about the I quite thoroughly. I'll be going over that eventually. But I just thought people ought to understand that when there's separation of church and state, these people who control our world are not separated from church and state. They have a religion. Adonai is the realization of this dogma in the human form in the visible Lord, who is the Son of God, or the perfect man, Eglah, formed of the initials of the four words, Ath Guba Laklaim Adoni, expresses the synthesis of the whole dogma and the totality of the Kabbalistic science, clearly indicating by the hieroglyphics of which this admirable name is formed, the triple secret of the great work. So they have names they can call on demonic entities, fallen angels, to help them in this reality. Masonry, like all the religions, all the mysteries, so they're saying here Masonry is a religion. Masonry, like all the religions, all the mysteries, hermetics, alchemy, conceals its secrets from all except the adepts and the sages or the elite who control our world, and uses false explanations and misrepresentations of its symbols to mislead those who deserve only to be misled, to conceal the truth which it calls light from them and to draw them away from it. So if you have any doubt about this going on, being deceived, a great deception, it says it right here. You get to get your master's degree, the third degree in Freemasonry, and this is what you have to learn. Truth is not for those who are unworthy or unable to receive it or would prevent it. So the truth is not for those who would prevent it. And remember, these are the same people 2,000 years ago that had Jesus Christ crucified, rejected him, who taught us one extra commandment. We should love one another. You decide. They say they deceive in this material here, these 3 pages, over and over and over. You can get the book, page 105, Morals and Dogma. I believe I bought mine on abooks.com for $25, including shipping. So God himself incapacitates many men by color blindness to distinguish colors and leads the masses, you and me, away from the highest truth. Do you believe that? Giving them the power to attain only so much of it as it is profitable to them to know. Every age has had a religion suited to its capacity. The teachers, even of Christianity, are, in general, the most ignorant, of the true meaning that which they teach. There is no book of which so little is known as the Bible. To most who read it, it is as incomprehensible as the Sohar, S-O-H-A-R, also spelled Zohar, Z-O-H-A-R, which is another variation of the Kabbalah, which creates the sorcerers, also called witchcraft, magicians, magi. Just FYI, who were usually advisors to kings and queens in the Vatican throughout the ages. So what do they know now? What are they doing now? What should we know now? What should we do now? One, we should wake up. That there is this evil force bent on changing our world, and not for the better. Just think Hunger Games movie. Just think about all the millions of Arabs that have been machine gunned and bombed and starved to death since 2001. Does that concern people? And if it doesn't concern you or me, we should worry about ourselves. Are we human? Are we good humans? Are we empathetic? Are we apathetic? Do we care or do we not care? Does that make up who we are? Is that why we're on planet Earth? Is it a huge school so you can be identified who you are when you leave, when you die at 70, earlier, 80, 90? But surely we will wind up in the other world. The teachers, even the Christians, are, in general, the most ignorant of the true meaning of that which they teach. So Masonry jealously conceals its secrets and intentionally leads conceited interpreters astray. There is no sight under the sun more pitiful and ludicrous at once than the spectacle of the Prestons and the Webbs, not to mention the later incarnations of the dullness and commonplace undertaking to explain the old symbols of Masonry, and adding to and improving them or inventing new ones. To the circle enclosing the central point, that's the symbol for their deity, a circle with a little dot in the middle, which is on the belly of the devil if you go look it up on Yahoo image site. To the circle enclosing the point, it itself traced between two parallel lines, a figure purely Kabbalistic. These persons have added the superimposed Bible and even reared on that the ladder with 3 or 9 rounds, and then given them the vivid interpretation of the whole, so profoundly absurd as actually to excite admiration. Well, it certainly is interesting to read this kind of stuff. One can say that even in this material, they call it a religion, and obviously saying negative and derogatory terms describing Christianity. And these elites back then, apparently knowledge obtained from the Egyptian Empire back then, the Pharaoh. Even Moses was raised by that family as an adopted son, although they thought it was the Pharaoh's sister's child. So he was taught in the magic, and then he found out he was Jewish. Everybody's probably seen the movie. And so he knew how to perform these miracles that happened, communicate with some kind of being, spiritual world, which I guess could cause plagues and all those nasty things that happened. And if they used this Kabbalistic sorcery, witchcraft science back then, how many times have they used it throughout history for their own personal wealth and power and benefits? They have something called sexual magic and all this stuff that people have been accused of, promotion of pedophilia, pansexualism, transgenderism, and so much more. What is it that pleases these demons or fallen angels? And even the fallen angels were accused of seeing that the earth women were fair and mating with them, the Nephilim creating the Elohim monsters, the Elohim mating with women creating the Nephilim monsters they talk about, even in the planet Nibiru, Anunnaki, and fallen angels, and even in the Book of the Dead, or what's that other book? They talk about these beings from the other world mating with women, creating hybrid creatures, monsters, giants. And apparently the earth was so polluted back then, God, or whatever God is, had to have the earth flooded. And apparently some angels or beings were sent to indigenous tribes all over the world. Even in the Frank Waters book on the Hopis, it's described. And even in Greece, they have underground facilities. Ecuador, they have all these artifacts. I've gone over that with gotta recall these names. The Gold of the Gods book, the 3-foot high gold plates with all these beings that look like gray beings. So they had to have a world flood to purge the world of all these hybrid creatures, and apparently whoever was in charge helped some people from all these different parts of the world survive the great flood, underground or in mountains, etc., or in the case of Noah, building an ark. So what are we to believe? And if it's all prophesized, then the end times say that up will be down, down will be up, and the evil forces will take control of the planet. What are we to believe what we see going on now? That's my whole point. And it does appear like these people into these temples and lodges and cults, Illuminati, Zionists, Freemasons, Rosicrucians, Bohemian Grove, Council of Foreign Relation, all these organizations, Bilderberger groups, Club of Rome. I could go on for an hour or two with all the names all over the world. Fastest growing church, the Church of Satan. I guess it is a religion. A religion of satanic, luciferic, demonic being worship. And apparently they hate humans, and they're bent on creating a global world order like the maybe the Hunger Games movie, which is why maybe they make those movies. FEMA camps, beast system, monitoring everything we do, microchipping people, children right now. Anyways, there's my live streaming event for the first day of August. I hope it's been interesting. Thank you for the comments. Rick Miracle reporting.